Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about Flutter. So let's get into it. Now, the other day I got a question from a subscriber and he wanted me to kind of touch on this. So to kind of define things first and foremost for you, Flutter is an initiative from Google, which it's basically a framework or a development platform that allows you to create applications that will be ported or transpiled down to native code for both Android and iOS. So the idea here is that you can use one code base or one system of development to build for both platforms. And it's fairly young. Flutter, last time I checked in on it, it's either still in beta or it just got out of beta. I think it just got out of beta. Anywho, that's the idea. And just as most of these multi-platform solutions, it sells us in on fast development speed, easy development experience, etc., 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 compatibility, native APIs, and all that stuff. So what are my thoughts on this? Well, for this to make any type of sense, we have to consider a little bit more, and hopefully I can fit all of this into this video because I have quite a few thoughts on this topic. So let's first and foremost ask ourselves, why is Google doing this? So Google has, for the past few years, been the strongest advocate of progressive web applications. And progressive web applications is, as of today, the biggest threat there is to mobile app development. So why would they push this and at the same time push something that literally tries to go the other direction and maybe empower people basically to make really good native device applications, native apps? Well, let me give you my take on matters. Honestly, I think that Flutter is a political move. I think it is Google's attempt to match up against Microsoft's Xamarin. That's what I think. You see, the thing about Microsoft, which is their biggest strength, is that they have the best closed environment there is in the development world. You can spend the rest of your career in C# easily. And the best part about that, or worst part, depends on your viewpoint, is that you have absolutely everything you'd need in order to do almost everything you want. You can do app development, you can do games development, you can do enterprise development. Microsoft is amazing at locking. I don't want to use the term locking. It is a lock-in if you want to stay in that environment, but they give you absolutely everything you could possibly want to do absolutely everything. You don't have the maximum amount of freedom and you can't be all trendy and just use whatever you want. As long as you use the tools that they give you, you are empowered to do everything you want. Google does not have this. They don't have it at all. And I think that they have realized that in order for them to kind of mitigate some of the issues that come from Microsoft having this power position in the enterprise world, they have to match them product by product. Because if you think about it, there is an army of C# developers who they see no reason to use anything than that language. They can do everything. They can do absolutely everything they want with Microsoft's products, right? And Google don't really have a multi-platform solution for like mobile development. They are extremely web focused. They have Angular, Polymer, and they have all these other like Go. They have tons of these development products, but they don't have anything to match Xamarin. Nothing until Flutter came around. Flutter, I believe, is their attempt to simply match up against Microsoft so that they can compete with them for the people who want to have a one platform solution. I mean, Facebook has done the same thing with React Native. Xamarin is the same take on matters. But for Google, they had a little bit of an issue. Okay, so they don't have a really nice, like they can't use, like they are very JavaScript oriented when they, for progressive web application and all of that good stuff. But React Native already has kind of a market dominance on JavaScript as a solution for doing multi-platform device development, multi-platform app development. So what do they do? And this is what I think. This is why I started believing that this is where I started thinking that Google is doing this more for political reasons than for the reasons that they are pitching you on their website. And I think maybe this was a genius thing, or maybe it was the thing that makes it. It's hard to tell what the decision process was here, but Flutter uses Dart. And if you have never heard about Dart, that's okay, because Dart was a failed attempt at replacing JavaScript by Google. It's their own programming language. So why not use JavaScript? Why not use any of the other solutions or any other languages? That's a great question. Why use Dart, this obscure language that basically has no. The adoption rate or the adoption of Dart is almost non-existent. If Google, they could have standardized on basically anything. They could have used JavaScript like Facebook. You could have done all kinds of things that would have made Flutter more accessible to the vast majority of people out there in the workforce, but they didn't. Why? I don't know, but I have my suspicions. I think that a part of it could have been that they want to blow new life into Dart and try to push that language together with Flutter so that Dart can ride on the potential hype train of Flutter. It's the same thing that happened for functional programming with React. Functional programming has been around for ages and ages and ages, but it was only when React came around where the hype really started to get going. And now it's spiraling out of control and everybody's about functional programming. I think that this is the same sort of situation that Google is trying to achieve with Dart and Flutter. Because if you think about it, why wouldn't they use a more mainstream language? Why use Dart? I can't really foresee why. And I don't trust the reasons that they are giving us, because you can actually see, like I actually read the documentation. They gave, in my opinion, a bunch of nonsense reasons of why Dart, like they had considered many different options and all things considered Dart was, no. That's a sales pitch, that's a PowerPoint person giving me a sales pitch. You cannot convince me that using something, that if you could have chosen anything out there, more or less, that choosing Dart was the way to go. I don't believe that. I think that there's more to it. So, where does this leave us, you and me, as the developers? Well, so let's talk about it. On average, I will say that I think about Flutter in the same way I think about React Native. I think that there are very specific situations where this will make a lot of sense. If you are a small consultancy firm, if you're a design bureau or something like that, you have maybe 1 or 2 developers tops, and the applications that you are building have to be on apps on both devices, and you're okay with kind of having the downsides of having this framework, because there are a lot of downsides to not just using the native platform. Remember, every single time you put a layer between you and the actual thing that you should be using, transpiling, call it whatever you want, you are taking a risk. That risk could be worth it in certain circumstances. But if you can avoid it, you should avoid it in general. That's my opinion. The best reason for this is exactly how I feel about React Native. This has nothing to do with Flutter. It has to do with the whole concept of multi-platform porting, if you will. My favorite company who gave me the best answer ever to using something like React Native, or like it could have been Flutter as well, was Klarna here up in Stockholm. I asked them, why are you using React Native? And they said, well, we want to be able to just focus on getting the best JavaScript developers and still be able to support Android and iOS devices. So we thought that instead of trying to diversify too much and get different teams who only know Android and maybe are specialized in iOS, we get just really great JavaScript developers and focus on that instead. And that's a great answer. It's the best reason in the world. They have a strong use case for it. But if you are like a single developer, starting out for the first time, and you're thinking, okay, maybe I should learn Android, maybe I should learn iOS. No, I don't think so. Maybe I should learn Xamarin or something so I can do it for both devices. Don't go down that route. Start by learning one of the, in my personal opinion, unless, as I said, if you are a C# developer and you're going to stay in C# for the rest of your career, or for the most part, go with Xamarin, absolutely. But when it comes to Flutter, as a beginner, it's a really bad move, because Dart is, you should know that if you learn Dart, you will most likely never use it for anything besides Flutter, most likely. So it's a really, really, if you know nothing apart, if this is your first go at mobile development, pick something else, trust me. Because if you're afraid, if you're starting your own company and you're afraid that, oh, if I don't support both iOS and Android, I'm not going to get any traction on my app. Trust me, that's not how it works, guys. What's going to happen is that you are going to develop something, it's going to most likely fail miserably, and you're going to have to iterate over and over and over, and you're actually going to have to work very hard to get people to want to use your application to begin with. So what you should be doing is that you should pick either Android or iOS, depending on your use case, learn either Java or Kotlin, Swift or Objective-C, get really good at one platform, build your product for that platform, and when people start asking you to build it for the other platform, that's when you start thinking about doing something differently. Because trust me, it doesn't matter if you have support for both Android and iOS at the same time if nobody's using your application. It's just extra work. And that's most likely where it's going to start out. So, to summarize or kind of end on a thought here, the idea that you will have a single code base as well, because that's another selling point. Trust me, guys, the way that users want to use your iOS application and the way that they want to use your Android application are not the same. This idea that you will have one single platform application or one single code base that will work for both cases, it's sort of true, but it's not 100% true. It's not. So, in my experience, I think that the idea that Facebook kind of sold in with React Native was that we don't want to give you one application that works the exact same way on both platforms, because that's just going to be a bad experience for both your device users. We want to give you a suite of tools that allows you to be productive and to be able to basically produce the code necessary for both platforms. And I think that's a great idea. So for me, when it comes to Flutter, I would say that Flutter is the sort of thing that I, as I said, would use if I'm very sure that I'm making, as I said, if I work for a design firm or something where they do a lot of prototyping or concepts, that sort of thing, and they need to very quickly be able to produce for both platforms, and they don't have a person who is really good with Android and a person who is really good at iOS, then this is a perfect fit. But for a beginner who has never programmed before, I would not start with Flutter. Because Dart, as I said, it's not going to give you double value, or rather it's just going to make you a Flutter developer. But I think it's, as I said, I think this is more a political move than anything else. I'm not saying that this is a bad product. I think that this can be a really good platform for this specific use case, but I don't want you to believe that it's just, I want you to have the full picture. I don't think that Google is doing this I think they're just doing this to kind of keep up with Microsoft. That's my thought. Have a great day.